Before the wasteland, before the mutants, and before our favorite guy in power armor started causing chaos, the world of Fallout looked very different. A world of chrome, optimism, atomic energy, and international paranoia, holding itself together with a smile, a handshake, and a whole lot of propaganda. Today, we're diving into what life was really like before the Great War, why the bombs fell, the war with China, and the rise of Vault-Tec, the company that shaped the future of humanity. For better or worse, welcome to Wasteland Wackos. Let's head back to 2077. To understand the Great War, we need to understand the world that existed just before it imagined a retro-futuristic 1950s America, but stuck that way for over 100 years. Everything was powered by nuclear energy. Cars ran on mini-reactors, robots were everywhere. People enjoyed a life of convenience, at least on the surface. But under all the shiny chrome, the world was cracking by the mid-21st century. The world hit a full-blown energy crisis. Oil was running out. Countries were desperate. And the United States did what the United States always does in Fallout. They ramped up military expansion and claimed resources wherever they could. Daily life for the average American looked peaceful. White picket fences, TV dinners, robot assistants, and endless consumer ads. But there were dark undertones. Government propaganda everywhere. Constant talk of war, rationing, mandatory enlistment, advanced surveillance, and massive corporate power. People lived comfortably, but always with the fear of nuclear war looming over them. Technology was both incredible and weirdly limited. Computers ran on vacuum tubes, TVs were black and white, but robotics, AI, and energy weapons were decades ahead of ours. It was a world where Mr. Handy Robots made breakfast power armor was being mass-produced, and the U.S. military dominated the globe. All while people bought Sugar Bombs cereal and pretended everything was fine. So why did the bombs fall? To put it simply, competition for the last remaining resources pushed the world past its breaking point. By the 2060s, oil had become more valuable than gold. Nations fought over the last remaining deposits. Diplomatic relations shattered, and alliances collapsed one after another. Humanity wasn't headed toward war. It was running toward it. The U.S. competed fiercely for energy resources, first in the Middle East, then in Alaska, and eventually all over the globe. Countries that relied on American oil turned on the U.S. when the supply dried up. Countries the U.S. depended on cut America off when their own resources dwindled. Every nation became desperate, and then, on October 23, 2077, everything came to a head. To this day, nobody truly knows who launched the first nuke. The U.S., China, another nation, or even an automated system. The nukes flew across the world in a matter of minutes. Civilization collapsed in under 2 hours. It wasn't a long war, just the last one. One of the biggest factors leading to the Great War was the long, brutal conflict between the United States and China. China was hit early and hard by the global energy crisis. It needed oil desperately. The U.S. needed it too. And both nations started making moves in the same places. The conflict escalated into proxy wars, espionage, sabotage, and eventually open conflict to transport troops and resources to Alaska. The U.S. invaded and annexed Canada. The occupation created anger, rebellion, and a long trail of war crimes that Fallout fans still talk about. The U.S. and China clashed directly in Alaska. It turned into a bloody, frozen battlefield filled with power armor, energy weapons, and scorched earth tactics. America eventually pushed China out after years of brutal combat. By the 2070s, China was cornered. America was stretched thin. Both sides were terrified of losing. Nuclear launches became a matter of when, not if the U.S. prepared shelters. China prepared missiles. Both sides prepared for the end. And in October 2077, someone finally pressed the button. All right, now let's talk about Vault-Tec, one of the most important, mysterious, and downright corrupt companies in the Fallout universe. Vault-Tec was, supposedly, responsible for building massive underground vaults to protect Americans from nuclear annihilation. Food, water, living quarters, advanced technology, and everything needed to survive decades underground. Vault-Tec marketed themselves as America's last hope food: water, living quarters, advanced technology, and everything needed to survive decades underground. Vault-Tec marketed themselves as America's last hope. Vault-Tec didn't just shape the post-war world. They shaped every Fallout game's story. They knew the bombs would fall. They planned for it, and they used it as a chance to reshape humanity into whatever they wanted. So that's the world before the bombs fell. A society obsessed with tech, a planet running out of resources, world powers on the brink of collapse, Vault-Tec quietly preparing their horrific experiments, and a global war with China that pushed humanity over the edge. When the bombs fell, they didn't just end civilization, they created the fractured, chaotic wasteland we explore in Fallout today. And as we dig deeper into Fallout lore, we'll uncover more about the people, factions, and conspiracies that shaped the world both before and after 2077. This is Wasteland Wackos, and if you enjoyed this dive into pre-war history, make sure to like, subscribe, and stick around for more Fallout lore, gameplay, and chaos. See you out there in the wastes.